Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Smart Money. Now, did you know that only 21% of the existing investor base in India constitutes women today? However, a lot of good work has been done in the past few years. As per the AMFI report, the share of women in Indian mutual funds AUM has shot up from 15% in 2017 to almost 21% in 2023. But what is the reason for the penetration still being so low? Why are women still not investing their money in financial assets and actively managing their own money? And how do we spread awareness about financial literacy and financial independence for women? We have three women joining us here now. So our experts today, let's kickstart with them. In the studio here with me, I have Ridhi D'ongursee, who is the founder of LXME. And joining us on Zoom, we have Hena Mehta, who's the founder of Basis, and Priya Sunder, who's the co-founder and director at Peak Alpha Investments. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on the show. This is an important topic and a topic that needs a lot of awareness. So, Ridhi, let me start with you. At LXME, you guys try to, increase financial literacy for women, but we all know that a lot of work needs to be done, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we did a survey with Access My India a while back, and 93% of women did not access any online platform for financial literacy. That's a scary number. 98% of women were not planning for their retirement. And that's why I think we've all come together to change that.
So why do you think that is, Ridhi? What is stopping women from, managing their own money? Now, I know there are a lot of age-old traditions about how men manage money in the house, etc. But it's 2024, right? Yeah. I mean, even the percentage, the contribution of women to the GDP has gone up so much. Then why are women not managing their own money?
So I think it's because, actually, and that's a very interesting question, right? We are talking about gender bias, we're talking about equality, but still we're not managing money the same way as men are. We usually are handing over our money to our husbands, brothers, fathers. And like you rightly said, there is socioeconomic conditioning. We've been told husbands manage it better or fathers manage it better. There's also fear, right? Women are great savers and budgeters. But because we've heard someone put their money in the capital markets and lost it, we've stopped investing in the capital markets. 85% of women invest in non-inflation beating instruments. So women are great savers and budgeters, but they'll either put their money in physical gold or in FDs, savings account, chit funds, and post office, right? So there's one, I think, fear. Two, I think lack of support. Women feel scared or are judged. Our community, we have a community of only women. And they come and they talk about such amazing things on the community, but that's because there are no men there. They're scared to ask money questions on common platforms. And the third is basically literacy, right? Women suffer from time poverty. They're taking care of their homes, their families, their kids. And for women, it's about everyone else besides themselves. So they don't have the time to go in and research what they should be learning, how to compress that into a manageable time frame. So it's a multitude of factors that unfortunately has made the change not as fast as it should be.
And I'm glad that some of you are doing great work in increasing financial literacy for women. Hena, I want to get you in on this. At Basis, what is the data that you guys have put together? What is the percentage of women investors today versus, say, 10 years ago? Have we made any kind of progress in financial literacy and awareness for women as a cohort?
So, yes, and I agree with everything Ridhi just said, right? There are just some fundamental issues that are preventing women from investing. However, we are seeing a positive change, right? Sonia, you started off with some of the AMFI stats. I actually don't have the data over the last 10 years, but just in the last 3 to 4 years, since 2019, the number of women investing in mutual funds has increased between 58 to 60%, right? So we are making progress within the Basis community as well, and we do our pulse checks and surveys. About 50 to 55% of women started investing after joining the Basis platform because they finally got the knowledge they needed, trust gaps were filled, they got the confidence, etc. Right? So we do have a lot of work to do. However, we are seeing data that is promising, that's telling us that we're headed in the right direction and more women are participating, to Ridhi's point, in inflation beating assets and growing their wealth for the long term.
Okay, well, Priya Sunder is also joining in. She's the co-founder and director at Peak Alpha Investments. And Priya does a lot of work in educating and empowering women to take that financial decision. Priya, although we have made some progress, I agree, we must also remember that out of the 21% women that are registered with folios, many of these folios are still managed by the men in the house, right? Although the name of the demat account is still a woman. So we need to change that mindset, bring more women into this investment umbrella. How do you think we can fill the gap?
See, I mean, I think you and Hena and Ridhi have all shared some statistics. But what's also heartening is that almost 50% of the investors, the women investors, fall in this age group of about 25 to 44 years. And that's very heartening to see, because you see that more women are coming into the workforce and they are starting to invest money here. So this is, the previous generation has all of this baggage, the legacy of men managing money. But we see with the younger generation, there's a lot more new folios getting created. But I think we can't ignore the fact that there's definitely a gender pay gap here. And for every 100 rupees that a man earns, a woman earns 72 for the same job. And that will probably leave a lot more money in the hands of men than women. Women will end up with retire with nearly only 2/3 of the money that the men will retire with. So I think the larger issues that we have to address here is not just women investing, it's about how much are they investing. If you have a pay gap, that gender pay gap gets exacerbated because women always have non-linear careers. And by that, I mean they have kids, so they take career breaks, and they take career breaks either for caregiving or raising their children. And when they try to get back into the workforce, they don't go back with the same income that they had when they left. So they compromise because they get flexibility, lesser pay, and that sort of pushes them even further back. So investment size is then therefore smaller, and therefore all of their wealth creation objectives are again pushed out. The only way to sort of circumvent this is either they get more aggressive with their investing because the amounts are smaller, or they push out retirement, both of which are not desirable because women inherently are sort of risk averse. So there's a plethora of problems out here, and I do believe that this gender pay gap and the breaks and career breaks that women take are fundamentally responsible for keeping them sort of at a place where they're simply not able to compete with the assets that their spouses or partners create.
That's a very important point you made, especially about career gaps, right? I remember what Indra Nui said. She said the biological clock and the career clock always coincide. And then when you have to be sort of caregiving the most is when you're sort of, climbing the corporate ladder as well. So it's really unfortunate, and a lot of work needs to be done from corporate's end as well to facilitate this process. But Ridhi, Priya made a very important point, not just about career gaps, but about gender pay gaps, right?
Yeah.
So when a woman retires, she's left with much less than a man, and hence it becomes even more important for her to do financial planning. So for that woman watching us today, what should women do today to manage their money better?
Okay, and I want to add one more point to that. Women live longer than men. So along with those 2 points, it's actually very important for a woman to plan for her retirement and be in charge, right? So what we say at Lakshmi, and I think even Basis, and actually all of us say the same thing, is start small, right? Of course, the ideal amount you should save from your earnings is 20%. But the ballpark figure. But you can start even with 100 rupees. Straight from out of college, you start a SIP. And you have enough platforms now personalizing that for you, right? Like you come onto Lakshmi, you put down your goals. It could be retirement or child education planning, and it'll tell you how much you need to save and invest in a lump sum or a SIP. And in your SIP, like I said, there are portfolios that start with rupees 100. So 1 is start with a SIP. 2 is start small. 3, of course, please balance, have asset allocation where you're kind of dividing your savings into debt, equity, gold, basically fast growth and safety nets, right? And again, there's platforms like us giving you literacy, helping you do that in a really simple way right now. So that's a couple of things you can begin with.
Okay, Hena, you want to come in on this? Because, there are, of course, we talk about a cohort which involves working women who have a little more knowledge, a little more savvy these days, but there's a large population of housewives that have money that they get for expenses, but they don't know how to invest that, right? For their kids, etc. What would your advice be to them?
Sure. So actually, we don't see a big difference between working women or on homemakers, etc. Right? I think the challenges women face are fairly similar. I would echo what Ridhi said. I think the key is to start small. But before that, what we see is large confidence gaps, right? I don't know enough, so I'm not going to venture into, let's say, equities or equity mutual funds, like things that we know grow the most in the long term, right? For long-term wealth building, they are sort of better asset classes. So one is educate yourself, and this is not a one-time exercise, right? This is a continuous thing. Like chalk out as little as, and I know, Ridhi, you talked about being time poor or time poverty, but if it's possible, chalk out as little as 30 minutes a month just to stay on top of this, right? Like, of course, you need to understand the fundamentals, how does inflation work? What is the inflation rate in India today? What is compounding? What are the different asset classes you can put your money into? Diversification, right? There's a lot there, but this is a continuous exercise, right? Two is talk about money, right? And Lakshmi has a community, Basis has a community. As women, this topic just never comes up. When we get together with our peers or female colleagues, we're not talking about, I don't know, is real estate a good investment, or, some exciting asset classes out there that people are putting their money into. We see that men do this all the time,
Absolutely.
right? And we need to normalize these conversations, because then our behavior also changes, right? If I see my friends planning for retirement and setting out, X amount, a corpus to support them in their last, 10, 15 years, I'm going to want to do the same thing. So I think socializing, talking about it more, and then finally just start, to Ridhi's point. You don't need, I think a common notion is you need large amounts of money to invest and things like that, with such flexible asset classes. And I think mutual funds are a great way to start. You don't need to, do the research and all of that. Start small, and then work your way up once you have that confidence and you know how it works.
Correct. No, forget about talking about it with your peer set or your girlfriends or your friends, right? People don't even have money talks with their spouses. I mean, that is the kind of lack of communication that we're talking about when it comes to money, right? But Priya, come in on this, because you spoke about very important issues, whether it's the gender pay gap, whether it's, a career gap as well. What else do you think is coming in the way of women taking that decision? And how does one structurally build wealth over the years if they have to start from scratch?
So I sometimes feel it's true. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, because men and women are living in completely different worlds when it comes to managing money. So for men, when you talk to men, it's the more money I have, the better it is for me. I can take care of my family better. I can find a life partner. I can settle down. I can buy an asset. I can buy a house. I can spend more time with my family. Go on vacations. I can retire early. The sense of financial freedom is it's so closely tied to money for men, and they're very vocal when they talk about money. It's like money gives them the freedom to do so many different things. But when you talk to women about money, it's the more money I have, it is, it's harder to take care of my family. How am I going to manage family and work? It's harder to find a life partner. What if my earnings are larger than his? It's larger. It's harder to find my set of friends. I won't have time for my family. I won't fit in. Those kind of thoughts that men have, this simply, it's completely the opposite when you have these conversations about money with some women. So everybody talks about women's empowerment. I think that very word, women's empowerment has a negative connotation, because it implies that women need to be empowered with something. But I think women don't need to be empowered. We just need to exercise the power we already have and not lose the power with the actions, the things that we do. So, for example, we give up power when we keep our money in the bank in a savings account and we don't invest it. Historically, that's cost us, big time, because we're not able to build a retirement corpus for us. We're not able to make, choices that could release us from, a poor-paying job, a very unsatisfactory marriage, or whatever it is. We've also given up power when, we focus, women are just conditioned to focus more on budgeting and spending and, live within your means. But that complete focus on investments is simply not there. We give up a little bit of our power when we think that way. So all I'm trying to say is that women need to talk more unapologetically about money, about making money, about asking for more money, about getting more money, about investing more money. And I think we need more role models about women who are rich. So I think we have to talk about women who've made money, who've made a life for themselves. Look at, Venus Williams. She had a great career in tennis and she gave it up, and she's created this private equity firm, which helps women, start investments, start businesses. And I think that's such a terrific role model. Why don't we talk about such women in our country?
Correct.
Because everything good only comes out of having money. There's nothing bad that comes out of it.
Absolutely.
And yet, completely suppress, all of those things that go with money. I'm so baffled by why it is like that.
No, I completely share your emotion. I should share this with you. So I've been doing this show for like 3 or 4 years now and talking a lot about money to women, to several cohorts, etc. A lady wrote to me the other day and said that, I heard one of your shows about 4 or 5 years ago and I started my investment journey, and today I'm financially free in such a way that I can get out of a pretty bad marriage, a toxic marriage that I've been in for so long. So yes, money empowers you in very different ways, and I'm so glad. We have role models in all of you trying to build companies and businesses which empower women. So that's great. We have a lot of queries coming in from women. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short commercial break, come back in just a while on Smart Money to talk about how you can manage your money if you're a woman, and if you're a man, you can still watch our show and get to learn more about how to empower yourself and become financially free.